Hello and welcome back to Level Up Rugby. Today we're going to be taking a dip back into the playbook and looking at and talking about how you play off of 12. We're going to be discussing what exactly playing off 12 is and the benefits to your attack that it can have. We're going to be talking about how you effectively play off of 12, and we're going to be going through some professional, academy and amateur examples of ways of playing off 12 and maybe ways of not playing off of 12. So, playing off of 12 is an adaptation of the wraparound loop play that you see, for example, Ireland doing quite frequently and to some success. The changes from that loop play to playing off of 12, as I coin it, is that there is no pass between 10 and 12. The reason for that is that, in my opinion, that pass between 10 and 12 is unnecessary and actually detrimental to the success of the move, especially when you run it off first phase. When I'm defending at 10 and I see the opposition 10 shape to give that pass and get on his bike to get around the 12, all I'm thinking is, all right, I'm tackling the 12. He's the ball player. I'm getting to him and allowing the rest of my team to move one player across. So that pass just gives the defence time, and it's unnecessary, especially with the increased proficiency and efficiency of scrum half passing. Scrum halves have now got such a fast, flat, powerful pass that can get straight to the 12 without the 12 having to cut back in to attack the 10. The 12 can stay square on his opposite man, the 12, the defensive 12, allowing this move to be successful. You take a look at, for example, Willie Hines. He's the best example of it. Gloucester are the team who do this the best. They get Mark Atkinson, the ball playing 12, Billy 12 who's coming short, and Danny Cipriani pulling himself out the back. But the key is, first of all, Willie Hines' pass. It is flat and across, allowing Mark Atkinson to attack his opposite 12, taking the 10 out of the game. And that's the fundamental aspect of this move. The purpose of this move is to generate an extra man in the wider channels. And how you do that is by ignoring, more or less, the opposition defensive 10. Let me show you exactly how it works. So here we have the defensive 10, defensive 12, defensive 13, defensive 14. So initially, first of all, we're going to make sure that the offensive 12 is wide and flat on the line. That's the key. Making sure that you're presented and in the position to engage the defensive 12, not allowing this 10 time to get across and attack you, defend you. Second of all, the 10. The 10, for the added part of deception in not allowing this 10 to drift straight away, is he's got to look like he's going to get the ball. He's got to be flat and quite like Alex Good, for example, in the European Cup final, I believe, against Leinster in 2019, when you see the ball travel through his hands. I'll play a clip.
And they've got to start playing to the post, which have gone the other way.
Alex Good puts his hands up as though he's going to get the ball.
That's the kind of illusion that we're going to be wanting to prevent this 10 from drifting. That's the key. If the 10 drifts onto 12 and the 12 drifts onto 13 and so on and so forth, there'll be no extra number. The key is to fix 12 and prevent 10 from sliding. So once your 10 is in the right position, the 9 is going to play a flat ball across to 12, and the 12 is going to fix the opposite 12. So he's going to run directly at him. He's not going to run and try and turn him in. He's going to run directly at him and try to sit him down. If he runs back into this space here, this gives more of an opportunity for the 10 to make the tackle, and then the 12 to slip off and hit the 10 at the back coming around the corner. So we're going to make sure that the 12 is running directly at the opposite 12. Second of all, we're going to have the 13. Now 13 is going to try and turn in his opposite man. He's going to come into this space here between 12 and 13 and try and turn in the defensive 13. Let's draw a little arrow. The next part of the move is this 10. Now the 10, after the ball's come across his face, he is going to start getting on his bike, like we're saying, and get around the corner. He's going to be formulating an effective unders and overs, getting on the outside of this 13. So the defensive 13 becomes the pillar at which the 10 is working around. He's looking to get into this space up here. So he's going to try and split the 13. So the 13, knowing the 10's coming around the corner, is going to have a decision to make. He's either going to bite in on the 13 coming short, and in which case the 12 plays at the back to the 10, or If he doesn't bite on the 13 and looks to hit the 10 coming around the corner, you just drop the 13 and then he's through, hopefully after sitting down the 12. So that's how the move works. 12 fixes his man, 13 turns to 13, and hopefully space will be generated for the 10 coming around the corner to formulate a 2-on-1 with the 10, 15 and 14. However, as I'm sure we're all aware, this isn't always practically accurate. Unfortunately, 13s are very good defenders nowadays. So even if the 13 swims off and he can attack the 10, this is where the blind wing comes into play and is paramount to the success of this move. The blind wing is going to be running that oh so beautiful shoulder ball. And I'm sure if you've ever played alongside me, I harp on about a shoulder ball constantly because it just generates an extra number. Instead of standing there on your wing and doing nothing, get involved. Get that extra number in the wider channel. So say the 13 does swim off and he can attack the 10. If this blindside winger is also following him along, the 10 can attack the 13. Instead of attacking here, he's going to come up here now. He can fix the 13. And now we're splitting the 14 because the 14 can either go to the 15 and hit 15, or he can go to the 11 and hit 11. So he's split. He's got a decision to make. And usually what you'll see happen, and we'll always see Danny Cipriani throwing that lovely long ball, is that as he comes around the corner, squares up, fixes 13, 11 comes around on that shoulder ball, fixes 14, and you'll see a long ball coming over the top from Danny Cipriani over to Jason Woodward, for example, running on that flat line. So now let's get into some demonstrations so you can actually see this in action. So here we have a Rugby World Cup warm-up match between South Africa and Japan in Japan. As we can see here, South Africa have an attacking scrum on the right-hand side of the field. First of all, we can see here that Andre Pollard and Damien Diolande are flat to one another. They are in a line, in addition to Cheslin Colby. As we said, this is key to preventing the 10 from drifting. If the attacking 10 actually looks as if he's going to get the ball, or even Cheslin Colby looks as if he's going to come into the line and get the ball, this prevents the 10 from drifting straight away onto the 12, allowing the 12 to be the pillar to work around to gain that additional player in the wide channel. We see the ball being played over to Damien Diolande. And you see now he's, first of all, trying to get to the Japanese player in the white boots and sit him down. Facundo Am now has overran his line a little bit, but still is trying to break into that space between the 12 and the 13 to try and turn the 13 in, as the 12 can't get to him because he has to stick with Damien Diolande. As we go along here, we'll see Andre Pollard come out the back, formulating the unders and overs with the additional support of Cheslin Colby. As we can see, Tim Lasaele, although being turned in by Am's fixing line, he has managed to swim away and is now eyeing up Andre Pollard. As we can see here, Andre Pollard could attack the line a little more, but either way, whether he does or doesn't, the Japanese 14 has a decision to make. He can either bite in and hit Cheslin Colby on coming on the shoulder ball, or he can bounce out and try and get Villy Leroux. In this demonstration, he actually gets nowhere and gets caught in the middle, and Villy Leroux gets a lovely ball from Andre Pollard and puts Mapimpi away in the corner to finish.
Flat pass to Leroux. Mapimpi, he'll stroll in for his second try. What a pass to set that one up.
We actually get an even better perspective from this replay, seeing that Diolande attacks the 12. He doesn't try and attack the space either side of him. He tries to attack the 12, getting him to sit down on his haunches. As we can see there, Am is breaking into the space between the 12 and the 13, trying to turn Lasaele in. Unfortunately, not doing a very good job of it, but it doesn't matter because Cheslin Colby being that extra number burning around the corner means that as Pollard squares up slightly on Lasaele, the Japanese 14 is caught in two minds, whether to bite in on Colby or stay out on Leroux. Perfect.
Pollard, he threw a rocket. Villy Leroux with the skills to catch and to pass.
Okay, so here we have Harlequins Under 18s Academy playing against Bath Under 18s Academy. They have an attacking scrum about halfway up the opposition half of the field on the left-hand side of the field. So as we can see, first of all here, the Harlequins Academy 10 is sat almost in the pocket. He's never actually a viable option to receive the ball. This means that as we roll the footage on, we can see that the 12 is instantly attacking the Bath Academy 10, not the Bath Academy 12. This completely destroys the move because there is no extra player now. They're more or less just running a simple unders and overs pattern, except with the 12 playing 10 and the 10 playing the 12. They're just reversed roles. The Bath Academy 10 has, yes, planted, but it's irrelevant because the rest of the field is now adjusted. So now essentially the Bath Academy 12 has become the Japanese 13, meaning that he, after a poor fixing line from the Harlequins Academy 13, is able to drift off, swim away from that fixing line and hit the 10 at the back, meaning that now Bath Academy are matched numbers. The 13 can hit the shoulder ball winger coming around the corner, and the winger can now hit the fullback in the wider channel. So, as we can see in this clip, the Warwick 12 doesn't do a very good job at sitting down his opposite man, meaning that the Northampton 12 is able to swim off and actually cover the Warwick tight running 13. This allows, therefore, the Northampton 13 to swim off and get to the Warwick 10. So this clearly highlights how crucial that shoulder ball blindside wing line is, because as the Warwick 10 squares up on the Northampton 13, the 14 for Northampton is now left with a decision of whether to hit the shoulder ball coming around the corner or bounce out and get to the 15 in that wide channel, just like we saw with Japan. However, the difference in this clip is that Warwick are actually inside the Northampton 22. This means that the fullback for Northampton is in the defensive line. So as we scroll the clip on, we can see that the fullback is now covering that long ball option of the 15. However, we can see the pure class of the 10 coming around the corner here as he throws the double long ball over to the wing in the corner. Usually, if this wasn't so deep inside the opposition 22, that fullback would be in the backfield, allowing free rein for the attacking fullback to attack the line. However, in this circumstance, we can see that the fullback being in the line just means that there's only one option left available, the very long ball, or even sometimes the kick pass over to the wing in the corner. Now, this is one of the worst examples of running the playoff 12. As you can see initially, Adam Hastings is in the right position, presenting himself as if he's going to get the ball first. And Sam Johnson on his outside is slightly more tucked. However, that is part of the problem. Sam Johnson being tucked behind him means that he's not wide enough to really engage the 12. Not only this, but it's important to note that the scrum is on the right-hand side of the field for Glasgow. Glasgow having the scrum on the right-hand side of the field means that Nick Phipps, the Exeter scrum half, is on the side of the scrum to go and attack Adam Hastings, or in this case, Sam Johnson, allowing therefore chronologically Joe Simmons at 10 to push off onto 12, therefore ruling out any chance of this move actually having any success. So as the clip plays on, we see, like we said, Sam Johnson presenting himself and coming over the top of Adam Hastings. However, attacking initially, although he does eventually bounce out and try and get to Ollie Devoto, first of all attacking Joe Simmons and also realistically Nick Phipps as well. He's done a great job there to get over. So this has a domino effect on the rest of the defence, meaning that Ian Whitten can then push off onto the arcing run now of Adam Hastings, allowing Ollie Devoto to take care of whoever that is coming in from 13. So as you can see, as the clip rolls on here, Ollie Devoto takes care of the 13 running that short jamming line, and if anything, that 13 is not running the line in the correct place. He should be staying squarer for longer to try and attack that space between 12 and 13. However, he's coming back in. He's not staying square, he's coming back in to attack that space between 12 and 10. As we can see as the clip rolls on there, he actually goes between them. This means that Ian Whitten in that 13 channel can easily access Adam Hastings and can go one further to not only applying the pressure to Adam Hastings, but also Tommy Seymour. As we can see, Ollie Devoto has done an incredible job to swim off from that incredibly narrow line from the 13 and swim off like we saw the Japanese 13 do. Ollie Devoto's done the same and swam off, got to Adam Hastings, allowing Ian Whitten to then get onto Tommy Seymour, and a knock-on effect. As we can see, Jack Noel's in a bit of no man's land here, but if it was to run its course, he'd be able to press onto the Glasgow fullback and Hogg would be on the winger. So as we can see, they have matched numbers, killing the Glasgow attack. Finally, here we have one of the best examples of playing off of 12 off first phase. Northampton Saints have an attacking scrum just inside the 22 of Benetton. As we can see, James Grayson and Naira have started just behind the scrum, almost on the other side of the scrum, on the left-hand side. This is a great bit of innovation because it's now led to the scrum half for Benetton and the blindside wing not being able to cover the backfield and take the last man. This has also led to Cobus Reinach being able to attack the 10 of Benetton without any interruption from the opposing scrum half. This is important to note because it prevents the 10 from sliding instantly onto the 12. If Cobus Reinach attacks the 10, then he has to defend him, otherwise Cobus Reinach's in under the posts. So therefore it gives Hutchison more time to square up and attack his opposite 12, preventing the rest of the team from drifting off one player, causing there to be no overlap. So this is very important. Although the 13 in this situation has again overrun it a little bit, it doesn't matter because he gets taken out by the Benetton 13, tying the Benetton 13 in very, very well. Then Rory Hutchison gives a very late ball out the back to James Grayson, and he burns the corner, attacking the space between 13 and 14 like we haven't seen anyone else be able to do in any clip yet. He then drops Naivaro in off his shoulder because, like I said, Northampton are inside the Benetton 22, and therefore the fullback for Benetton is in the line, covering Harry Malander. So Grayson drops Naivaro off that shoulder ball into the hole between the winger and the fullback in the line. Naivaro carves through, gives a late ball over to Harry Malander, and they are in. An absolute dream. So then, what are the key points for successfully playing off of 12 on first phase? First of all, it is a lot easier to do if you are outside of the opposition 22. This is because the fullback, as we've discussed, is not in the line. He will be in backfield. So he's not in the picture, meaning you can throw that long ball over to your 15 and he'll be open. Secondly, it is so much easier to do if you are having a scrum on the left-hand side of the field. This is because the scrum half will be tucked away on the opposite side of the scrum, unable to go and apply pressure onto your 10. And if he's unable to apply pressure onto the 10, he's therefore unable to allow the defensive 10 to push onto the 12 and the 12 to push onto the 13, and so on and so forth, until, like Glasgow did, effectively having matched numbers, which is a complete failure of the move. Secondly, comes down to the scrum half. It is key that the scrum half's pass is wide, flat, fast, and across the face of 10. It is key for the pass to be wide, but to allow the 12 to line up opposite the defensive 12. If he's in front of 10, like we saw Glasgow do, the 10's just going to stay on him. It's as if it's just an unders and overs move. If he stays square and in front of 12 and sits 12 down, it prevents the whole team from sliding. So first of all, the pass must be wide. Secondly, the pass has to be flat. The flatness of that pass will enable the 12 to efficiently and effectively sit that opposite 12 down. If he's too far behind the gain line and you're just running the shape rather than running into the spaces, then the opposition is just going to drift off and slide like we saw Bath Academy do. Thirdly, fast. The ball has got to go fast. If it's a slow ball from the 9, then it just gives time for the 10 to drift across. All the time that ball is in the air just gives time for the 10 to drift across and line up on the 12. Again, as we're saying, chronologically then moving everyone out one, just forming a normal unders and overs with matched numbers. Finally, across the face of 10, this is just a bonus really. If you can get it like we saw Alex Good doing, across his face as if he's going to catch the ball with an added bit of deception, then the success rate of this will increase massively because that 10 will have to stay on you. If you're staying in the pocket like the Harlequins 10, no one's going to mark you, no one's going to see you as a threat, and they'll just move over to the next possible threat. Thirdly, it is key that the 13 stays as square as he can for as long as he can. If he's just running between 12 and 13, it's not as engaging for the opposite defensive 13. If he runs at the 13, maybe even making eye contact with him and then breaking into the space between 12 and 13. That little bit of detail will help to sit that 13 and turn him in a lot more efficiently, therefore enabling the move to be more successful without having that shoulder ball necessary. If you can turn that 13 in effectively by staying squarer for longer, you have a much greater chance of being successful with this move. Also, as we said just before, it is important that the 12 really targets that opposite 12. He's not trying to turn him either way, he's just trying to get him sat down on his haunches, like he's just sat in a chair. That's where you want him. You want him to plant and to be fixed so he can't turn left or right, just as he's embracing for a tackle. That's the key for the 12. And for the 10, it is important to stay deep, but then making sure that you burn the corner, attacking that 13 if he breaks, and if not, the space between 13 and 14. Otherwise, it's just, again, passive from that open side winger. If he really wanted to, he could sit back and drift and just let you make the decision for him as you make that pass. Make sure you're really going to engage a defender as you burn that corner. Finally, the last key is it's really important to get your back three involved as much as possible. Like we said, if that 13 does manage to break himself away and isn't tied in to the fixing line of the offensive 13, then it is crucial that that shoulder ball from the blindside wing is there. If it's not, they're match numbers. It's also important the open side wing stays as wide as possible. If he's as wide as possible, he's that kick pass option, even if it's off the first receiver as 12 playing it across the pitch if they don't mark him. It's key that he stays as wide as possible. And also equally important is the fullback is as wide as possible too. I usually, when I'm running this move, tell my fullback to go and stand on the 15-metre line, just as a rough guide, get him nice and wide so he's outside of the range of that open side defensive winger. So when he comes onto the ball, he can come onto the ball with pace and he's in a free open space, attacking that last man at fullback, making the 2-on-1 with the open side winger. Thank you very much for listening. I hope you've learned something from this and you can understand it's just there's a bit more detail. Rather than just running the shape, as I say, you're actually running into spaces, trying to turn players and running this move as effectively as possible. Thanks for listening. I'll see you again in another video when we get back into the playbook. See you next time.